Hey, today we're going to be talking about some indie filmmaking, crappy hotels in Cleveland, and one of my favorite films, Last Life in the Universe. What do they all have in common? Well, stay tuned and find out. So if that interests you, grab yourself a beer, maybe a can of corn. Maybe warm it up. There's no rules though. And I don't know, what? Some Parmesan Cajun. If you're feeling it, throw it in the oven. All right, here we go. Last Life in the Universe was released here in the US 20 years ago in August 2004. It's a Thai crime / romantic film, and it has some really hard-hitting talent with Asano, Mike Takashi, and even Christopher Doyle behind the camera. The film centers around an anxious Japanese man and a free-spirited Thai woman, each living in Bangkok, and they take a trip together to the countryside, and along the way we learn more about each of them. There are some great behind-the-scenes interviews where they talk about finding the feeling and really just finding the film. Okay, so before we get too far, let's take a pause and take a trip to the Midwest. First, to a small town outside of Indianapolis called Carmel. It's an odd little town full of walkable neighborhoods, pristine mid-century homes, and odd brass statues sprung up around the town. It's a bit like what I imagine driving through a backlot at a movie studio of a time gone by. And from there we went to Chicago to Nashville to Virginia to Baltimore to Cleveland, and here we are in the Cleveland airport with the mayor himself welcoming us to the city. When I got to the hotel, it was one of the worst ones I have been to in a while. It had this terrible smell to it, and everything was old and dingy, and there was a questionable stabbing, an unconfirmed stabbing near the front door. I don't think that's marinara sauce. So what does this have to do with filmmaking? Well, I'm in Cleveland for a film festival. It's for a film that I shot last year, and I'm doing my first festival circuit. The hotel has this feeling of a hotel we were looking at around the time we were doing pre-production for the film. On a personal note, this hotel does remind me of early on in my career. I was working out of North Charlotte at the time when there was a lot of shows and movies being made in North Carolina, and I was working as an art buyer and making very little money, and I had to drive an hour into Charlotte and then work 12, 13, 14-hour day and then drive home. And sometimes I would just be too exhausted after doing it 3 or 4 days straight. I would stay, and I remember staying at this really terrible hotel, and I had like a flashback being in this hotel room, sitting there, and I got like some sort of cheeseburger or something, like a Hardee's burger or something like that. And I'm sitting there. I think I might be watching Cops or something on television, and the next morning when I got out of the hotel, and I'm so thankful I didn't die at that hotel. I went out in the parking lot, and there had been break-ins, vans, people stealing the luggage or whatever out of the people's cars. And granted, that's pretty common right now. If you go to San Francisco, you're gonna get your stuff stolen in 2 seconds. But it wasn't that common in Charlotte. When years ago, it wasn't like what you wouldn't see break-ins like that all the time. It's unfortunate, but I remember thinking at that time, like, dang, is this what like the film industry's like? I'm making next to nothing after you factor in making very little, like pretty much like a PA, a little bit better than a PA, and a hotel cost for the night and some food after hours. I could be working at McDonald's and making more money. That was a pretty big eye opener when I started thinking about a career in production and career in TV, movies, or maybe perhaps shifting to try to do more commercial work, which is what I mostly do now. Okay, so back to the movie. I started to try to make this video while I was in the hotel room, but ran into some technical issues. So I'll just talk about it here. I think the film captures beautifully the feeling of loneliness. The film has this thread of subdued colors and the somber music throughout the film, and That may sound boring, but the leads, the lead talent has so much charisma on screen that keep it interesting. And I really like what the director was saying when he was saying about finding the film and capturing this feeling, about chasing the feeling. And here's a little bit about what he said.
การทำหนังใหญ่มันอาจจะเป็นเรื่องของการเหมือนทำงานศิลปะมันคือมันเป็นเรื่องของการค้นพบมากกว่าการรู้ว่าจะไปหาอะไรคือมันเป็นการเลือกมากกว่าเป็นการกำกับอะสิ่งที่สำคัญที่สุดนะในการทำหนังนี้มันคือว่า
Back in Cleveland, I went to go look at some options outside the hotel for some food because I was getting a little burnt out just eating at the hotel. So along the way, I discovered a Motel 6, and it reminded me a lot of my time early on in my career in Charlotte. And as I was walking by, I saw the people hanging out, and it's a real down and out sort of place. The place looks like it's perpetually sweltering. The type of place where the people turn the setting on the AC to Arctic so that, they can keep their huevos nice and cool as they prop themselves in the doorway to, smoke some cigs. As I'm thinking about the film, are these people lonely? I wonder if maybe if there was such a thing as right time at the right place. If you ever really know when that is, or do you spend your whole life trying to find it? Here's a clip from Christopher Doyle talking about finding the film.
I think that was what I learned most from the work we've done with One Car Away, which is that you have to find the film, not make the film. And that's very different from a Western idea. You have to find the film. The film is there somewhere, in your heart, or in the words, or in the space you're working in, or the colors, or the environment, or the amount of money you have. It's there somewhere. But it's not something you can just say, oh, this will be the film. You have to work very hard to find it.
There is this inherent loneliness in traveling. I think everybody feels it. And in this movie, I think it captures that. Last Life in Universe deserves so much more attention. It's a small, humble film made by a group of friends that truly cared about making something special. Whatever situation you're in, whether you're coming or you're going, I recommend the film. And if you're like me, next time you travel, pop on the film soundtrack to have it playing in the background while you're trying to work out the feeling, the vision, the essence of your next project. Or at least listen to while you're questioning the amount of caffeine to water in your system for the day, because I'm always doing that. And then thinking about, should I pee before I get on this plane? All right, well, that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it, and bye for now.